Welcome to Made for Mondays, the source for digging a little deeper into the Believers Church Sunday messages and finding ways to apply them to our daily lives. Together, let's take a deeper look and find a way to bring Mondays
Hey
back to
everybody,
life.
welcome to the pod. My name is Heather, and who are y'all?
Hi, everyone.
What are you doing?
I was trying to get in your camera shot.
Oh,
I'm in a new seat over here.
oh, okay.
I like it.
My.
All right.
If you're listening, I'm in a new seat. Samuel's here today.
All right. What
Sam in
camera
the
am I supposed to
house.
look at? We're right
Are
there.
we supposed
Ready?
to look?
Hey, I'm Joe.
Hi.
Nice to see everyone.
Dude,
today.
that's a
you're
great
here.
shot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good. Jeremy should have told us to do that more often. That looks really
What?
nice. Just stare
Yeah,
directly into the
just-
camera. You're like,
So glad
I
you're
don't-
here.
I don't think that's the point. To stare into the
we're definitely trying to get those views up on YouTube.
right. So Joe and
Oh, yeah.
Michelle.
Who's here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Rochelle. Hi.
I'm Joe.
Yeah.
Glad to be on the podcast again.
I'm so glad everyone's
Name
on the
is
A
pod.
lot
Joe.
of fans that have been asking for me to be back on the podcast.
Oh,
Really?
really?
Wow, fan favorite over here.
At least two.
Oh, okay.
They're both from my B group.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
you're,
it.
Oh.
I didn't know if you're
Your
going to say your
mom
wife
and
and
your
your
wife.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Who in your B group has been pining for you to be back on the
Josh Mann wants
Okay.
to know when I'm back
Oh.
I
up.
like that.
Yeah, Ben Siebel.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
a lot of close friends, I guess it
Yeah.
doesn't count.
Right. Nice. So you guys, what'd you do this weekend?
Ladies first.
Oh, well, I had a very full weekend. We kicked it off with Friday. My dad every year takes my sisters and I and this year our cousin came to a winery
Oh, cool.
to celebrate Mother's Day, and
Oh,
it was
that's
so fun. We
sweet.
went to Cooper's Hawk. It was our first time.
Oh.
And it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I was sitting in there thinking, I don't think they was ready for the Cheekses up in here because
yeah.
we were very loud.
Did your dad sing?
It's a whole,
Oh,
it's a
no.
whole
That's
vibe
sad.
when the cheeks
Yeah.
descend on an establishment, I will say.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has
And
a-
you could feel it. I was
Yes.
like, they wasn't ready.
We all have a birthday song in restaurants.
Yes.
So I didn't know if you had a Mother's Day song or anything like
No, but I think we should definitely write
Yeah.
that. That
Yeah.
needs to
Yeah.
be.
That's true.
Your dad
Composed.
came to church yesterday.
Yes.
I'm sure you're gonna get to that. He was dressed
Oh.
awesome.
So fly.
Yeah.
And I tell him
Yes.
this every time he walks in. I wish he would warn me because I would make sure I'm not singing on stage because that man can sing forever.
Yeah.
It's
I love
incredible. And
it.
I was like, I hate singing when you are in the room.
He made a scene when he
Yes.
walked into church yesterday.
Yeah.
All of us that like song because we were like, oh, he be dripping.
Yeah, he was. He had
Yes.
the shades on.
So fly.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yes,
man.
I love it. Yes,
Yeah,
and
it's
my
great.
dad's always been a fan of fashion since
Yeah.
he was like in high school. There's pictures of him where everyone's like in their sports outfits and dad's got the suit coat on
Yes.
with his basketball uniform. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really great. So that was such a great time. And then Saturday, a lot of us got to be a part. All of us,
Yes,
all
we
of
were
us
all
were
there.
there. We had the free market.
Oh my gosh. It
Yeah.
was so great. Tell us all about it.
It was
Yeah.
early.
It was early, yes, but yeah, we all came together. Lots of folks participated in bringing items. I actually got this shirt at Free Market.
Oh, it's very
Wow.
cute.
That's fancy, yes, yeah, Ralph
I didn't know we could
Lauren
grab stuff.
for free.
Yeah,
You had to be there at
Thanks
the
for
end.
letting us know.
Yeah, I waited till the end. I was like eyeing stuff, and I was like, if that doesn't go, it's mine, it's mine. So yeah, I did a little swoop when everyone was cleaning up.
Good.
Yeah,
work.
and so many folks from the community. We had like over 100 folks come out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And just felt loved on. There were people there who wanted to check out Believers and had lots of questions about that.
Yeah,
It was,
I saw people on Sunday that
Yes.
had come out.
Yes, yeah, same. Yeah, it was really a really great time. On
Yeah,
Saturday.
there were. I mean, we're getting this thing all set up, and I'm not a big yard sale guy,
Yeah.
but I know there are people. But I always want to
Yeah.
like when we set. It gets better and better every single year that we set
Yes,
this thing up,
I agree.
right? And so we're putting stuff out, and I'm like, we're just gonna have to move this right back to where it was.
Yes.
And people are just loving it. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's that whole thing, you know.
Talking
One
about the
man's
1990
one man's
dirt
trash
devil.
is
Yes.
another man's
It's
treasure.
treasure.
But I will say, me and Heather said this stuff went really fast this year. So I think
Mm-hmm.
everybody's starting to understand it's. And Heather says this from stage, like,
Yeah.
don't bring your junk. Like,
Yes.
bring some good stuff. And there was like really good stuff
Yeah.
this year. So that was pretty awesome.
Yes.
There were also bike tires.
Yeah.
I saw
they go.
that.
No,
No.
that was one
Yeah.
thing that didn't go. We
We
did
were
this
like, where did these even come from?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were in the church.
because we clean out. We do a spring cleaning of the church. The staff
Yeah.
does, and we just keep. I'm like, I don't understand. There's got to be a story behind all of
All
these
of it.
things, and these flat, just bike tires.
Just the
There's
tires,
no
not
frame
the
or anything, just the
tube
rubber.
inside of
bike
it.
tires or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. And they just sat there, and I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants it?
Felt bad for them.
Who wants
It's like,
it?
Nobody wants those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. But yeah, that was a great way to start the Saturday with all of you. And
Yeah.
then we did an IKEA trip. I've been so obsessed with IKEA lately.
Okay.
Just for the experience, not even
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
shop, but they have a lot of plant-based food there. So we can do the whole experience and just like tucker the boys out. And then we ran into Papa Cheeks there. Also,
No way.
Yeah, yeah, he just moved into a new spot.
Oh yeah, probably. I was.
Oh,
Gonna
so
say
he was over there
getting
trying to get
stuff
some-
for his place.
Yes, yep, getting some bookshelves. It was at the end, and he was, hear someone go, "Hey, what you saying now?" And someone got it. Like, where am I?
They never know what's going to happen at
My
IKEA.
dad, right? You never know. Yeah, so that was an incredible time,
It is a store that's like,
an experience.
you're just kind of, if you're not there, you're like over in the area, you're like, I don't need anything, but
Yeah.
I'll go take a nice walk.
Yes.
And then you walk out with 3 carts full, and I'm like, I
true.
didn't bring a vehicle to fit all
Yeah.
this.
Yes,
I
yeah.
have 3 bed frames. 7 fake plants.
Right.
Yes. Oh man. And then that took us. It was such a full
Dang,
weekend.
you had a big
A
weekend.
whole thing, yeah. And then it took us to Sunday, which we'll get into more about deets on Sunday. But the boys were dedicated. So
Yes.
Yep.
it was
So good.
such a special day, and that's why a lot of our family was here to just celebrate being able to do that publicly,
Yeah.
which we were able to do that because we've gotten to a place in the adoption where we don't have to police photos of him
Sure.
anymore, so we could go up there
That's awesome.
comfortably,
Yes.
and it was so.
And your whole
great.
crew was here.
The whole crew
Yeah.
was in the
Yes.
house.
It was so
so
fun.
awesome.
Yeah, we were missing my brother and sister, and I'll have to show you guys later. But we have a picture of them. They edited themselves into the
Oh,
photo.
that's
I love that.
awesome.
'Cause, yeah,
That's great.
they're like, I wish I
Yeah.
was there. But they
Just
were,
like the free market, we've been trying to get better with our baby dedications too, because I mean, you get kids up on that stage, and it's I mean, I
Yes.
just always feel bad for the parents because I mean, there's new things up there. It's
Yes.
just you see everybody out there, and it's going wild. So
Yes.
I felt like yesterday went really well, like the
Yeah.
way we did it, and still like you could see them, but if the kid was getting crazy, you could just like set them down. It was all
Yeah.
good.
yes, yeah.
Well, Debbie made me write all the messages inside
Right.
their little Bibles
Yeah.
because she says I have the best handwriting. So I did that Sunday morning, and I'm like, I tell Rochelle, I'm like, oh, there's a Tyree and a Kyrie getting dedicated today, and she's like,
You had no idea?
yeah, that's us.
Oh my gosh, Joey.
No
That
way.
makes sense. Yeah, totally.
Did you not write Tyree Cheeks?
No,
Oh.
Just their first
not
name?
Just
They
the first
did-
name.
Okay.
Yeah, first and
Yeah.
middle, I think they did on all the
Okay.
stuff
Yeah.
which was so great. There were several families that were like blended family situations, and so there were different last names. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought
gotcha.
that was a great way
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, because I also had to
Yeah.
go up to a Kyle Goodwin because I saw his picture and run through, and I was like, "What is your daughter's name again?" Because I did not write Goodwin this morning. I was like, Sophie. I was like, "Okay, I wrote Sophie."
Nice.
Yes,
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
That
That
I
was a
agree.
good day.
That was a great layout, and the boys wanted to stay in the worship experience because all their family was there. So we tried it out
I saw you
for
guys.
a few minutes, and I was like, "This is not happening." So shout out to Next Gen for
Yes.
being there.
You guys are dead center, so it was hard to miss. I saw the boys. You guys started walking out. You and Jerry started walking out with them. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
they're not going to make
It's
it through.
not happening.
Halfway through the
Yeah.
first song, it's like, this is not happening.
Yeah, they were like climbing on the rows,
Yeah.
and they know everybody, so they're like trying to launch to different
Right.
people.
Right.
Yeah, so
That's
that was-
amazing.
That was our crazy weekend.
Nice.
Awesome.
Joey, what'd you do?
So, a segue into the conversation we'll eventually have here. I had wasted a lot of time this
You
week.
did.
I love
I
that.
didn't do much this weekend. Saturday morning was busy. We went out here and had fun at the free market, and then had the t-ball game. So I had to leave a little early. Then didn't do anything the rest of the weekend.
Okay.
Sunday was all about my wife. We got to see both of our parents, both of our mothers this weekend, so that was good. But then Sunday was all about her, and just kind of hung out.
That's good.
I think it's time
nice.
spent, but we'll get to it.
Okay. Okay.
So Jamie Stewart is here because you shared your weekend. That was nothing. That's great. Although Jamie, in his defense, he's been having some good weekends lately.
He has been having good weekends
so
lately.
excited for him to get away this week.
Yeah.
What did the Hagers do this week? Friday night was absolutely wild. So Mason, he's 11, fifth grader. He got selected. Only like 20 kids or 25 kids at the intermediate got selected to play a basketball game versus the
Yeah.
teachers. And so Friday night, they practiced all week for this. He's got his own t-shirt, name on the back, and he's like hyping it up like he does his flag football games. And I'm trying to be like, bro, you got to I think it's more just like the fun, go have fun, enjoy your teachers. Like, but he's like, well, Dad, what if they don't let us win? And I was like, well, I wouldn't let you win. So good luck, buddy. So we show up to this thing and we're there, of course, like 45 minutes early. Mason's got to stretch and get ready, apparently. And so there's like maybe 10 of us in the stands. And I was like, oh, this is going to be lame. We had to like pay to get in. It was like $5 per person. So we get in there and we're like sitting there and like every 10 minutes, like a little bit more come in, a little bit more come in. Well, it's now 6:00 and this place is packed.
Seriously?
It's packed.
Funny.
And like when it was getting hyped. It felt like a state tournament game. Like
That's fun.
the teachers were like warming up
Nice.
and they are obviously all into it. The kids are like now all into it. So the kids like go back to the locker room and then they run out and everybody's like hooting and hollering and cheering for them.
Fun.
And they did a really good job because they like built like 5 different teams because there's like 25 kids. So 5 different teams. And every like 4 minutes they'd stop the clock and bring them in.
Oh,
Nice.
fun.
And so they were like doing that. So they played 20 minutes. And like halfway through, some teachers were taking it really serious. Like there was this one teacher, he's like 6'5".
Yeah.
And he's swatting everything.
Oh my goodness.
He's sending it.
I
So,
love it.
the first couple times everybody's like laughing and then he keeps doing it. And so now like we're starting to like boo him. And it's like, it's starting to get a little crazy.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Everybody's having fun though. And so it's like 10 seconds. They're like counting down and the kids are down 1 and they're trying to score. And they're like, they ended up not scoring. So we think the teachers won. We're like, oh man. But it was still fun. Like everybody cheered. We had a great time.
Yeah.
Mason's like full on sweating. Like shirt is like soaked through. And we're like, all right, well, let's get ready to go. So we like all stand up. And the kids go back in the locker room, and I'm like starting to look around. Me and a couple other dads, I was like, "Are they gonna play a whole nother half?"
Oh wow.
And yeah, we had a 10-minute halftime. They come back a whole nother 20 minutes, and I mean it's getting hot in there. Teachers are falling. Like now, I'm worried about injuries.
Well, that's because of your son.
Wow.
No, yeah, and
go.
so I've got some videos in the second half. It got pretty intense. Mason
love
proceeded to knock over his principal. Going for a steal, knocks him, flat on his
Wow.
back, and then tackles his vice principal. Not tackles. They were both going for the ball, and she falls over, he falls over,
Yeah.
hits the ground. And at this point, I was like, he looks up in the stands. I'm like, bro, you gotta dial it back a little bit. You remember the Incredibles at the very end of the first Incredibles? He finally gets to race on the track team, and he's like running. He's like way out in front of everybody. And the family's like, no, slow down. And he like slows down. They're like, second place, get second place, and he gets it. That was our family. That was the Hager family. Oh man, from the stands, like you got to tone it down, dude. But they had to raise so much money for it. It was a really great idea. So. I don't know. Maybe if Believers can do something like it, like basketball
We
versus
don't do
staff or something.
fundraising at
Because
Believers.
no,
Yeah.
not fundraising. I'm just saying like the community event for it was
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
We could
So-
do fundraising.
Oh,
Yes.
I
Where
love
we
that.
raise the
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, but I was
There you go.
very, very concerned about adult injuries
Yes.
in that
Oh,
game
man.
because they were out to play. So we did that Friday. Saturday we went out to dinner with some friends, just to Gianna's, and all the prom stuff was going
yes.
on. So that was fun. And then Sunday was great. So
Yeah.
that was pretty much our weekend.
fun.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. We had, our daughter-in-law has family visiting from Texas, so we spent some time with them on Friday night and did our family pizza night, which we always have a lot of fun with that. And Saturday, I don't even remember
You
what
did
Saturday.
free market, and then you
free market.
you
Oh yeah,
drove down to see your sister.
Saturday, I ended up going down. I was like, I didn't have anything planned on Saturday, but yes, I ended up driving down to Greenville because my mom lives down there with my sister and her husband and babe, and Nate was really busy with work stuff on Saturday, so I was like, I think I can leave free market, drive to Greenville, see my mom, and then drive
That's wild.
back.
Right.
Because that 5:55 a.m. wake up call on Saturday morning, I barely made it through the door home, and I was like, I just put a pillow over my head and took
I
a
was
big old
telling
nap.
Sam, I was like, I think I'm going to drive down to Greenville after this. And he was like, what?
I wouldn't make it out of Chesapeake.
Sam thinks that Smithfield is a state away. So don't talk to this guy about driving. How far is Greenville?
It's like just over 2 hours.
Not bad.
Oh, okay.
Not bad.
So yeah,
like
I
a
drove
road trip.
down and like hung out with my mom and the babe for a little bit, and then took her to dinner at our favorite place down there, and then just came back. But I did,
Yeah, just a little 4-hour drive. No big deal.
I did find on the way back, on the way down, I actually was like turning up my music to try to stay awake and stuff because I was getting a little sleepy. And it is, a lot of it is just like one lane highway.
Shotgun Celsius.
Yeah. So I was like,
Yes.
but I made it. And on the way back, I FaceTimed with Trey for a little bit, so he kept me awake.
No, he can do
Nice.
that.
You can do that.
Yeah, that's good.
He called me when I was down there, and I was like, I'm going to call you on my way home so you can keep me awake. He was like, I got you, mama.
And you got to find the right
Did
people
that.
to do that, because we were just down in Atlanta and we got there really, really late. And Joey got in the co-pilot spot and he was terrible. If he's hungry or tired,
Oh, no.
he cannot co-pilot.
Yeah, this
Oh,
must,
because he
just-
was cranky?
Yeah,
this
oh,
might be the most accurate thing
cranky
he's ever
and just
said.
he checks out.
I
Yeah.
check out completely.
I don't know where I'm at. I'm trying to
just
follow
got-
GPS.
Yeah.
You just clammed up like
Yeah.
you were quiet.
I was tired and hungry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
It was
shut
like
down.
1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
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 We're driving to
We
downtown
didn't stop
Atlanta.
anything to eat. Just drove right to the house. Everything was closed. Sorry, Karen.
Well, Jen had snacks for you when
She
you
did.
got
She did,
here.
yeah. We
Crushed
had it
a few
covered.
snacks,
Yeah.
went to bed at 2:30 and kicked the conference off the next day.
Nice.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, sounds like everyone had great
Yeah,
weekends.
good weekends.
Yes.
We started a new few chapters in Matthew in our Bible reading challenge. I had
Yeah.
15 and 16 on here because we don't actually know what the new chapters are until Monday morning. It's actually chapters 15 through 17.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was a long read.
A long read
Yeah.
this week.
I didn't
but-
know they were doing it consecutively. I thought it was going to break after chapter 15. And I was
Oh.
like, chapter 15 is the longest chapter
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
ever heard. And I was like, oh, okay, it's all, okay, that was 3 chapters. It makes sense.
Yeah, was that the one with 75 verses in it? No, that Jamie preached on that one. I think it was in Matthew. Anyways.
Yeah, that was a while. That was actually the last time I was on the pod. Was that
Oh, really?
75?
Yeah, he reused one of the scriptures
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
it this past, like 2 weeks ago
Anyway.
or this week.
Did you guys get a chance to read this morning? Anything jump out at you in the Bible reading challenge today for this week?
Yeah. So today, the thing that jumped out to me was the passage about, I think I wrote, 24 and 24. It was talking about the Canaanite woman whose daughter was demon possessed, which, other side note, I was like, I wonder what demon possession looked like back then. If it was
Right.
the same now, or if, I would love to do some more research into that. But I love how she's like crying out for Jesus to help her in that. And then the disciples are like, nah, man. No, we ain't dealing with that.
Right, you're annoying us.
Yeah. And then just Jesus being like, no, I am here for the lost of Israel. And I just love that reminder that the whole reason we exist is for the unchurched. And I think it stood out to me today, especially because things like the free market and things like baby dedication that we just got to experience this weekend are wonderful ways for people to come in who are not connected to the church, who
Yeah.
don't know Jesus. I know our family, we had 2 people join us who are not connected to churches and don't know Jesus. And it was just
Yeah.
like so cool to be a part of that and to have that reminder in this passage.
Yeah,
that
that's good.
That's why we're here.
These so this reading was I love this type, like in these few chapters, because it shares so many of Jesus' miracles, because so often it's like, and Jesus did many miracles. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why are we not writing these down? Like, because you just like the ones that we do get to read about. And I always think like, what else did he do? Because he
Right.
threw that little thing in when he's talking to the Pharisees. He said when he fed with just the loaves, right? The
Yeah.
2, did I get the numbers right? Whatever the loaves are. But then he was like, but also remember when I did it to this with the 7,000.
Yes.
So he's like, he just threw that little thing in. He's like,
Yeah.
not only
Yeah.
did it this time that you remember, you also remember when I did it this time too.
Yeah.
I'm just like, how many times did he do that?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it had to be so many times that the disciple was just like, yeah, we're just not writing this stuff
Yeah,
down anymore.
right.
Like we got him in. That's
That's
fine.
what
Yeah.
Nate and I were talking about this morning after we were done reading. Because just that whole thing where Jesus is like, guys, How many times have I done this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, just
Seriously, do you get it now? Like,
Yep.
you know, it
Like,
just
now we don't.
and that's what just when Nate and I were talking, I was like, how patient is the Lord with us that like he just continuously like does this for us
Yeah.
all of the time, and he's
Yeah.
like, I'm still working, I'm still doing these things. And I will continue.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and he continues to work and continues to show us all of the ways that he
And-
loves us and shows up in the same way.
Yes.
Not,
And I feel like every time he does a miracle, it's much more than just the miracle. It's the timing. It's the timing of the miracle, right? Because you read through, it's the lady you're speaking of. Like, he was finally just like, yeah, she's healed. Just,
Yeah.
I got it. It's all done.
Right.
Like, he didn't have to be there, and
Yeah.
he did it. But then other times he like makes somebody go do this, or he makes the disciples go and get the boys lunch and bring it back, where he doesn't have to do that. So it's
Right.
all this like timing. And I mean, equated to my life, like what's going on. It's like, it's so funny to think how you have to rest in God's timing on stuff. And it's so difficult. And it's so
Yeah.
difficult to also be like, am I trying to make this happen? Or is
Right.
God showing up right now? Like, just sitting and trusting in that is, man, it's so difficult, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I love it because you know there is a purpose behind all of the timing that he's using, because
Yeah.
it's all over the scripture, especially over these chapters today.
yeah.
Yeah. I pulled this the same thing as you did, Heather, because anytime I see somebody like in the text that somebody's trying to test Jesus,
Yeah.
I'm like immediately entrapped because Jesus is kind of a little bit of a savage now. He'll get you got to be on your P's and Q's around him. So he immediately hits him with like the "you of little faith."
Right.
In this particular verse, he's talking about only an evil and adulterous generation would demand a miraculous sign
Yes.
Yeah.
because I've been sitting here doing all these signs,
Right.
these miracles anyway.
Yeah.
And like that's such an obvious translation to our life because we're sitting there. I think we get in that mode sometimes. We demand like Jesus show up in this, and we're like we get to that in such a mode that we start to get blind to him actually showing up. He is showing
Yeah.
up,
Right.
and we can't see the signs
miss
of
it.
him and
Yeah.
the timing and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
So good. So yesterday we started this brand new series
Yep.
that I'm so excited about called Family Issues.
Yay.
And what a great kickoff to the series. It started on Mother's Day. We're ending it on Father's Day. It was so funny because we were sitting there and Nate was like, we're starting on Mother's Day and ending on Father's Day, a family issues series. I was like, yeah, babe, we've
Perfect.
done this before. We've done this kind of thing before.
How do you plan it?
The teaching team's on fire.
They are, right? They're just like
Right.
boom, boom, boom. Good grief.
Yeah, just like such a great opener, I think. And I really loved how, so Pastor Jamie is not with us today because he's going on a little bit of a sabbatical, his annual
yeah.
motorcycle sabbatical this week. And
So don't be texting him and emailing him.
right.
Yeah.
Just let him
yeah,
have a
just
week.
let him have a
Busy.
week.
Yeah. Nice.
So, but yeah, I just thought the setup to the series was so great because one of the things that we did leading up to this series was we asked everyone to fill out this survey and just tell us what their family issues are, because all of us have them. And we got some really great feedback. And one of the, I think leading problems was just this problem of busyness. And it seemed like that kind of was a thread no matter the age or demographic of the families that we were
Yeah.
hearing from. So whether it was from people that are in like that they're single right now, or even retirees. And Jamie kind of hit on that even in the message yesterday, like this idea that even in the retirees lifestyle, they're like, hey, how can we have a full-time job? And
Yeah.
how do we fit this into all of the things that we were doing? But he addressed it from the kind of younger children, family oriented thing, because that seems to be the place that everyone relates to the most.
Yeah.
But it definitely isn't that's why y'all are here. Yeah. That's definitely not the only place that we feel the busyness kind of
Yeah.
comes from. So I think that's just kind of where we're going to kind of take the conversation today, but hopefully everyone can.
Yeah, no, I think that's
can
really
find
good. I love that
relatability.
Tyler, and maybe you guys talked about this in teaching team, but he was like, everybody has family, and everybody has issues. And I was like, that's so good. Like,
yes.
even if you feel like you're disconnected or you're like, I don't really have a lot of family around, it's like, well, there's got to be some family there, and there's obviously issues from all of the things. So I loved how you guys framed that. And around the business, Joey and I have talked about this a lot. I know you're gonna go to the question, but I'm interested to get Rochelle and Joey's take, because I don't feel like I'm that far out of when the kids were like they depended on me for everything.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, they probably don't need me very much. They need me to go to the grocery store and get food.
Yeah.
And when they mess up, I forgot to tell you guys. So I made my kids, they had to do Mother's Day this year.
Aw.
Love that.
I was like, you guys are up. And I didn't throw them out ideas because I wanted to see what they came up with. I wouldn't mind if they came to me and they're like, we don't have money. Can you go do this for me? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sure enough, they all did like cards. It was fine.
Aw.
But I had to save the day. So I had to go to the store last night. We got her all this stuff and made it happen, and we made her dinner and all those things.
Aw.
But it reminded me of this like dependency of like trying to teach them to grow
Yeah.
and the busyness of it. So I'm excited about hearing your guys' takes, because I know we have a lot of off the pod conversations around it.
So yeah, I think I asked Rochelle and Joe to be on the pod today because Sam's kids are kind of a little bit out of like the young parenting season. My kids are grown. And most of our podcast audience probably knows that just because we talk about our kids and our lifestyle a lot. But I would just love to hear from you guys before we kind of get into the discussion.
What does life look like?
Yeah, just to tell us like a little bit of like your family dynamics right now.
Yeah.
So if you could just by way of introduction, tell us like what your family looks like currently.
Okay. Yeah, so we have 2 kids right now. Easton, I don't know why I said right now. We're done. We're not having.
I was
kids.
like,
yeah,
Jeremy,
I
get
was
the balloons
what?
ready.
I don't need anybody. I don't need anybody texting me after this. No, we have 2
New
kids,
announcement.
and we're done with 2 kids. Easton is 5 years old, and our little girl Nora is a year and a half. So some general chaos with that, but they're both now. Nora's a little more independent.
You guys are both full-time working, like
full
all those
time
things
working
too,
and all those things. Yeah. So really, logistics of the day to day is more busy than actually like when we get home, like who's running to get the kids and pick them up and get them to their things. But so life's crazy with that. Nora she's a whole different ballgame. I don't know if it's just the second one or if it's her personality. I love it, but she can be a hot mess.
I think it's the babies when they're female.
Yeah.
The babies of the family.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to sit here and overplay it though. Like I was telling Rochelle earlier, like when you run into people and have small talk and stuff, how's life going? Your first instinct, oh, it's so busy. And like I've noticed that, and I'm like, I try not to say that unless I'm really busy.
Yeah.
So like life isn't too crazy, and I think the kids are at an age now we're not, besides t-ball, we're not into too much yet. And so like once we get home and settled in, they keep us grounded. So it feels like time wasted, but really we're just hanging out a lot right now.
Yeah.
So it's not, life isn't too crazy.
Yeah.
And with that, I'll give you Rochelle.
Hi, I'm Rochelle. I'm busy.
I'm busy.
I'm busy all the time. So my family dynamic currently, I have, and I say currently right now because I am a foster mom, a single foster mom, and so that can fluctuate how many kids I have. But for the last year, so I've had 2 kids, my 2 boys, for the last 3.5, 4 years, and then I have 2 teenagers at home also. So also part of that is we have a whole team that is in our lives all of the time. So then I also have a caseworker and a CASA worker and a resource worker and a probation officer and like just all sorts of people like constantly in our lives. So life is, it's like a scale of busy that I never knew I could survive through. But yeah, we're taking it one day at a time. I also have an amazing boyfriend who is, trying to integrate into our family and help out. He's super helpful. Yeah. So that's been really nice. But yeah, it's just a lot going on in the Cheeks house. We have a dog. And yeah, there's all the things we're doing in ties and t-ball, Kaizen soccer.
Yep.
Yeah. So
we've So like you were right. Like I know it changes a little bit because of age. I feel like the Hager family we have finally reached that season where have you guys seen that it's a new technology. It like you can like attach it to your wall and you plug it in. It's like the whole calendar.
Yeah.
It's like a digital calendar kind of thing, whatever. And it's been around for a while and I always was like, who uses that? But that's where we're at now. It's like kids have to be here. Addie needs to be here. Mason needs to be here. Evan needs to be here.
Yeah.
And my whole dad game right now is I just wait. I just live in the car and just wait because it's like Mason's practice. I can't just leave him there, so I just wait. And Emma, piano, gotta wait.
Yeah.
Addie said, I'm waiting for her to pick her up from school. I gotta take her to school.
Yeah.
So like we're in that weird season where it's like I'm not busy, but I also have things like I have to just be places right now.
And when I was thinking over this, I was thinking like you're in a season of life like once the kids actually all of them start doing something or multiple things, like you feel busier than I do sometimes.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I guess it just depends on the season and
It's
like what you're trying to get them to.
You get to relax. Then.
Yeah, when I get home, it's like, just go and do whatever. Like, I don't need to see you the rest of the night until we pray together.
Yeah.
me if it's too like, quiet for about 2 minutes, I'm like
something's wrong.
Yes, yeah. So it's so interesting because I'm in both of those seasons, right? Because I have the teens and the toddlers.
Yes, yep.
So like while I'm waiting in the car at a job interview, I also have screaming toddlers with me.
Thank you for giving me that perspective. That is awesome.
And it's
Oh, so sorry, Sam. You get peace and quiet in the car for 30 minutes. Come out when you get real problems. That's so true. Yeah, that would be terrible.
Speaking of one of the things that brings busyness, does that get like more intense because we're in that phase now? I've had like 3 fundraisers that Easton's had to do.
Oh yeah,
I don't even participate.
Yeah, the school stuff.
That's a whole thing. Huh?
That's always
That's the whole thing.
And I know like we have a bunch of life changes coming up, but we just paid fees for the kids' new school. That's like they're just fees all the time. Like there's another fee. I've paid so many fees. I don't know. Just name it fees because I have no sports fee and then
your budget line item like in your family budget for fees.
It's just fees.
Ridiculous.
I just don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
That's the season of life we're in.
So Jamie talked about kind of on the front end of his message, this idea of like the busy schedule parent guilt. And so, I just happened to be sitting behind you and Lee, like I was a couple of rows behind y'all. And I got a couple of like the elbows and then the like lean over kind of like this during this section. So I just wanted to like hear y'all's perspective on that because Jamie brought it up in a sense that he didn't want how this message was going. He brought it up on the front end because he was saying, I don't want this message to bring out like a sense of I'm up here teaching this to employ this parent guilt, because that's what can happen in this message, right? Is that I'm preaching on this and you're going to leave here today just walking out of this room laden with guilt over what our family's schedule looks like, and you just kind of throw your hands up and are like, yeah, but this is just what life is for us, and I just feel guilty about it all the time. So like just talk through that a little bit, because it is this like balance of if you have 2 or 3 kids and you get to this stage of life and they just want to participate in like one extracurricular activity and you throw an activity of church in the night, like in the week of like a B group that you as a couple want to participate in or as a single mom wants to participate in, and you're doing that one night a week, well, like now what, So just how do you manage that? How are you feeling about that even just in this season? Is there this sense of guilt with, how you're managing your time?
So how I'm wired, if you in a general sense, adult, kid, whatever, if you make me feel bad about something, I tend to like really beat myself up. And so Easton is great at that. And I've had to learn
about making you feel bad.
Yeah, and I've had to learn
What a
like,
jerk.
okay, there's like this, right? There's like this self-assessment you have to do to make sure you're checking that box, because it's an important box. Are you spending that time? Are you investing that time with your kids? But now I've learned, because I used to just cave every time he'd hit me with the guilt trip. And now I've learned, I'm like, all right, this is just tough parenting. Like, I've just been outside with you for an hour. We just did T-ball. I just played Mario Kart with you. And then as soon as we put it down, he just makes me feel bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it ain't happening anymore. Nope. Go in there. What did Jamie call it? Spontaneous play. Go in there and spontaneously play.
Oh man. I definitely deal with the guilt, and so much more so in this last year since taking in the 2 girls in addition to our family. I like to use the word full. Like, my day was full, my time is full, because I feel guilty about how busy life is. So I'm like, maybe if I just use this like diluted word, then it'll feel a little better. But like in being busy and having a full plate, I think a lot of the guilt for me is that I'm like, but these kids need someone to show up for them in ways that other people haven't and drop the ball.
Yep.
So then I'm trying to like go that extra mile and also do it for 2. I'm a single parent home. So like, I'm like, oh, they also don't have this other parent to balance. And so it gets tough because I'm like, Jesus, like, what are you calling me to show up for? And then what am I not supposed to do? So yeah, I just always am feeling like guilty, like, well, I'm not giving enough time to this kid or not time to this kid, or I'm not like adding this in as a family dynamic enough. So it can be discouraging. I will say specifically a shout out to Jamie. I know he like made sure he didn't want that to come off as like a guilting message, but it was just so great because he was so supportive of me when we went through this family training sort of for family professional development as a staff together. We were talking about just showing up for our families well in ministry, and he kind of pulled me aside and was just like so encouraging about some creative ways, and recommended this book called Sacred Parenting by Gary Thomas that was talking about how to balance and look at this season as a season of being shaped more like Jesus. And my time with Jesus is going to look different than the way it does with other people. So I just think, Jamie, he was so supportive in resourcing me with ways to kind of hush the guilt.
Yeah, that's great.
Hush the guilt. Yeah.
You're going to... Oh, go ahead, Joey.
Well, with young kids too, the guilt doesn't just come from the kid side of things. Like, we're noticing that even with time with family and time with friends, like our friends are really good about that because, I mean, your kids are in the teenage years and stuff like that, but we can't help the fact that one of our kids goes to bed at 7:00.
Right.
Like, that's tough. So like, there's some guilt kind of all around life. Are we doing enough outside of the parenting circle?
I wish there was a different, we've said guilt. I wish there was a different word for it because we have I have a tale of 2 different things for us. Like Jamie gave this message different, but kind of the same thing probably many years ago when we had the kids and they were in everything. Like, all 3 were doing something. And I felt guilt, and we did the opposite. Like, we were like, all right, well, the next season, we're not going to do that. Because we also had some friends that had kids in everything, and we grew apart in friendship. And I was like, I don't want that either.
Yeah.
So like, we got rid of everything. It was just like just church activities, and we're going to have dinner at home at night. And we did all that. But then like halfway through that, I'm like, we're doing great. And then you start feeling guilty because your kids aren't participating in these things. Dad, why am I not playing basketball this year? Oh, well, we said we were going to do that. Like, so then we were like, well, we need to get back into it. And then you get back into it and you have the guilt of now you're just running like crazy into these things. So I don't know what the balance is. But I do know that like it is for a season, and if we could get rid of the guilt word, I think it's just like it is just, you got to buckle down in life, and this is the time. But keeping like those main priorities of trying to have dinner together, or it might be at 8:00 at night, or it might be at 4:00 at night. But like, we're gonna do this for a half hour, and we're gonna be together, and then we're gonna go off and do our things. Like, we got to do that tonight. We have football practice, so it's like, let's eat quick, or we're all gonna wait and we're gonna eat at night, so at least we can be together. It's just trying to find that balance.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you get rid of the guilt. I think we just got to come up with a different term. I don't know what it is. It's just life.
It's wisdom right there. You're having a good couple of podcasts.
It's a good podcast. Oh, good. Nice.
I
love that.
Yeah.
Man.
So Jamie asked, would you agree that some people spend their time better than others? How is it that some people accomplish so much while others accomplish so little? So I know we shouldn't necessarily like compare ourselves to other people and like play that comparison game. But how have y'all wrestled with that? Like, have you observed other families or other people in their time management skills maybe and been like, how are they accomplishing all that they accomplish in their 24 hours? Because Jamie talked about that, right? Yesterday with like, okay, we all get a reset every midnight. You know, we all get to say like, okay, we've got this 24-hour period. How are we going to use that block of time? Yeah. So do you watch people use that 24-hour period and are like, how are they accomplishing so much in that time frame?
Yes, your brother and sister-in-law. I'm supposed to play the comparison game, but I wonder all the time how Brittany Cook does what she does.
Yes.
So true.
She's magical. Just kind of like, how do you...
Yeah, I know. I mean, Brittany and John come up. Like, I think about that, like, with Rochelle, like, every Sunday when we leave, and like, she's rolling out, and I'm just like, I'm going to go home and try to eat lunch and take a nap. And I just know that's not your life. Yeah. And I mean, I think the same thing. And I'll answer before you guys, sorry. But I really think this is kind of like that Facebook thing. You see people's best on their Facebook, right? And we're not around somebody else all the time. So I know that person, you just saw them do amazing things. Oh my gosh, they're running around town. They just did this. They just did that. We had a huge day. And you're like, wow, I feel so lazy. We didn't do that. But you don't know if the next day they just like had a lazy day and you're running around like crazy. So that's that comparison game, right? I think a lot of us are only seeing the best, not to knock down the Cooks. I think they're outside of this whole illustration. But yeah, I just think that's where that comparison game can get really, really dangerous, to think that somebody's running like that and getting so much done in 24 hours every single day. Like, there's just no way that's possible. Your brain thinks that.
Yeah. I think using time wisely, like we discussed yesterday, it can be a learned skill. So I think that there's a balance between not playing the comparison game, but learning from others. Yeah. So in the books you can read on this topic and stuff like that. So I think that's good. But at the same time, you balance that between, well, what is your spiritual gifting? Like, mine's a little more relational, and I don't consider my relationships a waste of time. So where I would say that, like, oh, by the way, listen, I'm the worst with my calendar, and Lee can't stand it, right? And I'm also a yes man. So those two don't go hand in hand. So I just say yes to stuff, and we already have stuff planned and everything. So like, that part of it is not my skill set. Maybe it's a learned skill. I'll start to get better. But I mean, I'm not going to knock the things that God did give me. Just because of that.
Yeah, figuring out how to use those.
Yeah. So the comparison game is a huge struggle for me. I think it's probably one of the reasons I don't have social media is because naturally I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. So like, that is our big issue, is envy. And it's not envy and like, I'm jealous that like I want that car that you have. I'm not materialistic in that way, but it's this envy of like, you are doing this thing and like living this best life, and I don't have that. It's the core of what we're talking about. Like, how are you doing that, and why? What's wrong with me that I can't make that happen? So I'll watch. I see people all the time, and I'm like, well, I know this foster mom who has 10 kids, and like, how is she doing that? And you know, we're all, because you're watching things to get inspired, and I kind of know I'm in like a different ball game. So I'll watch other, families that have taken in kids. And then I'm like, wow, how do they have, like, this is a single mom and she has 6 kids. I only have 4, like that sort of thing. And how is she showing up for all those people? So it's something that I really do have to look at that aspect of like, well, what has God designed me for? What has God called me to? What can I offer? And just knowing that maybe me adding 3 more kids to my life is not those kids might not benefit from the dynamic that I'm able to offer in my home, because that's not what Jesus has called me to. So it's hard not to compare. I was having a rough moment last night, and after the message, which is so embarrassing, but I was like, things have been really tough in my home lately, balancing things with my kids. And I was like, got to scrolling, and I was scrolling, and part of the scrolling was, and it's on YouTube. I don't have like Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, but it was like, oh, all of these families, they're doing all this and they have time to inspire others with their story. I don't have time to edit and post all of these videos. And it was just like, beating myself up. So I think as much as I can like remove that sort of
good.
stuff from my life.
Yeah, protect your brain from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then surround myself with others who are going to be able to call out those unique giftings that I have is super helpful. I'm so thankful. Brittany is one of my besties. And so I get to spend time in that space with her. And like, she's so great at, for one, I learned so much from them because they're doing an amazing job, like balancing the family things. When they, announced they were expecting their latest kid, I was like, oh man, now I got to get one more. We were neck and neck. I got to catch up. I know. But even just like, she's so encouraging to like call out the things that I'm able to bring that she's learning from me, which feels insane when you're looking at them like they're superstars. And then she's like, but Rochelle, like in this way, you encourage me to bring this to my family. So being in community too is so helpful where it's healthy comparison, where it's like, I love the you're the head and the foot, we're the body of Christ. And I love how we can work together.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just think like your whole scrolling thing, like if you can't get in a mindset of understanding that like that's their best moment.
Yeah.
And then it starts eating at you thinking that they're that person all the time.
Yeah.
Then you just like, so I just do it opposite. I'm like, they're lying.
I like that. Yes.
I think the time aspect, what I loved about this message so much is like, I think we can so easily be dismissive of the role that busyness plays in and how we manage our time.
Yeah.
The effect that it can have on our family dynamic.
Yeah.
And so we can just like pass it off on it not being that important or that it's not having the effect that it is having on our families. And I think Nate and I, like early on, learned that lesson in a very hard way.
Yeah.
And so it's something that we have guarded against in very strong measures. And so like even how Nate has chosen to like manage his time in his world of business has been very deliberate. And so he's a realtor. A lot of people know that because of how we've talked about it. And this idea of like wasted time, spent time, invested time, I want to get into that a little bit in our conversation as we kind of get to the tail end of this. But I just want to share this part of our story as we talk about it, because for us, like Nate, with real estate, like you can be so busy with that. Like he could run real estate all of the time. And that's kind of the world of real estate. Like if you want to be successful, that's what you do. And it's just kind of this monster that can take over your life. And we've seen that happen a lot with his colleagues and friends and stuff that have been in that world for a long time. But he early on, because of some of the stuff that we faced in our marriage and in our family, he just knew that he was not willing to go down that road. And so he's put up some pretty strict boundaries around his time and when he's going to work certain things. And he has like a really flexible schedule, and we joke on him about his schedule and stuff a lot. But and he's still very successful. But he, like Fridays is pretty much a day, unless we kind of really talk about it as a couple beforehand. Like he doesn't really do a whole lot with stuff on Friday because that's my day off. And so it's a day that he's committed to like spend with me, unless that's something that we agree ahead of time that is like a decision that we've made for whatever reason that he needs to give to a client or something like that. And then Sunday mornings and is like he's committed to being at church and with his church family. And that really has set himself up to potentially like lose clients or to not be a part of some other things that, I mean, a whole day of not doing work in that world is kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
And so But that's one of those things that Jamie was kind of talking about, even with like kids in sports and those types of things that like that's a big decision that you have to make as a family of saying no to something that could advance your career, could advance kids' sports career, you know, whatever you think they're going after. Yeah. Like having a hard no on stuff like that those are big decisions that you don't take lightly. But those are like trajectory decisions for your family. And like for our family, that kind of stuff saved our family. It saved our marriage. And I can say that with like full like experiential you know, like we went down a very bad road for a while.
Yeah.
And so like it's just the stakes are high in this conversation. And so it can be like, yeah, we're just talking about busyness and like we feel like we're, you know, all being pulled in like a million directions and stuff like that. So like, yeah, that's some of it, but it can be like, yeah, but now this is like is our marriage going to make it? Is our family like going to be able to like hold it together? And so when we talk about like wasted time, spent time, and invested time, like that's really what we're getting at with this stuff, because we're starting this series off talking about busyness, but these other topics that we're going to be talking about as we go along, it's rooted here.
Yeah.
It's so good to hear that and to hear the message yesterday, to hear that story there and to have this conversation, because while I don't feel like we're that busy right now, you can kind of feel seasons come up as parents. So it does feel like that season is right around the corner.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have the conversation now.
Yeah, and I love this, what you kind of highlighted in your story, this idea of like accountability around it. So I love that we're going through this as a church together, as a community together, because that's even something like I've struggled with. I had to get someone to help me and be accountable with my budget as a single person. And then I think I have desired for a long time, okay, I need to budget my time. I've asked my financial accountability partner, like, how do I also budget my time well, which is what we did with the worksheet that we got. Is kind of looking at how we are actually budgeting our time. But if I don't have anybody to answer to, like, you know, you and Nate had to make these decisions together and look at like, how's this affecting it? If I'm not answering to anybody, it can just like run wild. And so, I answer to Jesus. Yes. Yeah. But for those times I'm fully human. Right. It can just get so out of control because there's no one there that I'm bouncing this off of. And another plug, you were talking about, this is rooted in where we're going. This Sunday, we are in for such a treat with a message about singleness. And that was one of the things that I was just sharing with the teaching team as we were preparing for that, is like, how do I have accountability as a single person? So I think that this has been an issue for me. Busyness and full schedules has been an issue that could take over my life since before I had kids. It was like, hey, Rochelle, when are you going to take your vacation time? And it didn't change. It's been the same for me to be able to say, I do need to balance. I do need to say what's going to go, what's going to stay. And I think it's important to do that with someone you can trust.
That's great.
So how do you guys find yourself wasting time?
That's an interesting question, because at first I thought I could come up with a whole list of things that I do to waste time. But Rochelle and I were talking before the podcast that some of this is also gray. Like I could finagle my way to say that this isn't wasted time, it's invested time, right? Yeah. So I think really defining what each of those three segments looks like for you and identifying what is an actual waste of time, and then you can go after trying to not waste as much time. But for me, it's got to be social media. And it was interesting in our conversation, we were saying like, but if it's been a long day, if it's been a crazy day, everybody has some sort of outlet. And when you finally rest on the pillow at night and to unwind, like I don't consider that scrolling a real waste of time. It's like decompressing to read about sports
Right.
and whatever I want to read about. But there are also times that I'm sitting there and both my kids are there wanting to do something or asking me something, and I'm still just scrolling. So there's plenty of time wasted with social media for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think that there's like that idea of coping or doing something that's going to be an investment. Like, how do we decide if it goes in the investment column for us to be saying this is going to make me show up better for our kids? But yeah, there are those things that it's just like, but could I have been enriching myself while I was doing this so that I could be better? Yeah, I think that's like such a tricky balance, and I've definitely fallen into those sort of things. Not often social. It happened last night, which I thought was hilarious, but because of the timing. So it's not often that, but some of the other ways that I waste my time is fighting battles that are not mine to fight. I've realized that about myself, where I'm like, why am I'm just saying the things that I know this is not going anywhere, instead of just saying, I'm going to remove myself from this moment and just let Jesus do the thing. And I was like, that is such a time waster for me. Also rushing. So I feel like when I set my life up in a way where I have to rush, that time I'm spending just being frustrated and like, we gotta go, come on, what are you doing? And it was like, that was not productive at all. It didn't make me get there faster. It really didn't. It was just like the attitude and the vibe behind it. So yeah, those are some ways I was like,
That was me this morning.
Yeah.
I do want to say, as we talk about time wasting and stuff, I'm a stat guy, so I found this morning. Paid work, housework, eating, and sleeping make up 80% of our minutes used in a week. So what we're talking about here is being intentional about only 20% of our time.
Yeah.
So it kind of puts it in perspective.
Yeah, I was thinking like I didn't want to just be like Joey and give the standard social media. That was a good answer, Joe. So I started thinking about this question when you sent it out last night, Heather, like, how do I waste my time? I think a lot of mine is like things in isolation. So I know we need to spend time with Jesus. Like, if you're doing that, that's great. But anything else that I'm doing, if it's on my phone, or if it's like playing a video game, or if it's just like going to the store by myself, or sitting out in the park watching Mason play football for 2 hours at a practice, and I just sit there by myself and whatever, social, or just play on my phone. I think that's where I'm wasting time. Like, I have opportunities in those, either with my kids, take a kid with me, let's go for a walk and have a conversation. We're going to watch this baseball game tonight. Well, come sit with me and watch. And we're going to have conversation. Baseball's kind of boring for a lot of people, but we have conversations there, right? I'm at the park with Mason's practice. Well, why don't I call Trey Boy and be like, dude, what's going on in life? Yeah. Like, let's connect. It is moments of isolation that I choose just to be like, really I'm just going to chill and be by myself. Yeah. That I feel like I waste the most time.
Yeah, you waste it
and
on
it's a lazy thing, right? Like, it's just like I would love to talk with him, or I'd love to talk to somebody else, but I'm also like, I'll just sit here and whatever.
That's so good, too, because that ties into what Jamie was talking about last week in the intimacy message, just about how we, like, culturally, how we've, like, pulled away and isolated. Right. And where if we, like, use those opportunities to connect, like, that would
that's coming from an extreme extrovert. Yeah. Like, I love I love being around people. But I don't know if it's like getting older and just like sometimes being by yourself is pretty nice. And you just like block this out where, man, how many cool God conversations could you potentially have? I mean, you still have to have your moments of being quiet. But that's just, I don't know. That's kind of where I came from.
I was trying to talk Jesus to you on the plane ride down there. You just play games all the time. So I know exactly what you're saying.
That's not time for it.
You guys, I feel like you need to.
When do you want to talk Jesus with me?
Family counseling.
You need to like work out some situations.
Well, we do. We're the family issues. We're being very intentional about our relationship.
It seems like a tense period between the two of you.
He's working through his grief right now.
It does. It's because Sam's leaving.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. He's trying to figure that out.
All right. Well, what's a favorite way that you guys spend your time? What's some of your fave ways to spend time?
I got a list.
Okay. Go, Shell.
I love spending time, like, being present with my kids. When I can be, like, present and just doing the things with them. Oh, it fills my heart up. Same with family, with friends, making memories. That's just, that makes me so happy when I get to be like, oh, I hear you. I see you. I'm not rushing anywhere. I'm not worried about the list. We are just here together doing life. And I also love nature. I love spending my time.
Nature.
I don't know what that is from. I thought you were about to say
It's an SNL
nationwide.
skit, I believe. Yeah. Nature.
Anything that involves some sort of song. Michelle is there.
She's like, oh, I like that. That's a baritone.
We sing it. Let's go. Yes. Oh man. But yes, being in nature, it just refreshes me and it makes me think of Jesus and all the good things. So yeah, those are some of the ways I like to spend my time: laughing, singing, dancing. It's so fun.
Those are all mine. I love
Yeah,
dance.
that's my jam. We're part of our. This was before my BAPS boost.
Oh boy,
Jeez, I thought we weren't gonna get
I
that.
knew that was going to come up.
Jeremy, you have to put a description underneath what she just said.
Just message the show and I'll
Yeah.
have a side chat with you about that. But part of that, one of my goals is to have a dance break every day. And yesterday it was so fun because it's like a way we love to spend time as a family. And my mom had on like all this music and we were over there and Jerry's there and he gets to he's acclimated to it because of me already. But my mom's like, oh, this is my jam. And she turns the song up. She's like, come on, Jerry, you can't sit down to dance with me.
Is Jerry a dancer?
Oh, he's a great dancer, but he's like, I'm not much of a dancer, Miss Cheeks. While he's like getting it, I was like, babe, you
Dance
better
break.
do your thing.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So it's just like such a fun way to spend your time.
I love
Those
it.
are great.
I like to spend my time at funerals. You know,
Oh,
the perspective.
yes.
Yeah,
It's
no.
just like Solomon.
Look, I really had to reel in on that one. I was like, what is he? Where's he going
I
with
love
this?
that.
Yeah. No.
That's one of my favorite things he teaches on. He's
Yeah.
taught that in his funerals all the time.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so if you know me, I'm not much of a TV watcher. I get joked on for the amount of movies that I haven't seen.
Yeah, that's true.
But as like the whole kid things are happening, we're finding it very enjoyable to once the kids are down to get on
Yeah.
Netflix. So
Yeah.
what I thought originally, I was like, is that time wasted? No, that's time spent for
Yeah.
sure because it's not often, but for a couple hours every
Yeah.
night we get to spend time watching a show together.
Yeah.
My motto is if you are willing to pause and talk about what you're watching throughout the whole thing, then that's quality
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's also mad because we had football season now, basketball playoffs. I'm getting really into, so it's
Yeah.
kind of killing that.
Takes away.
We'll watch tonight. We'll watch tonight.
Yeah.
He said it.
Yeah. Maybe. So when you said that, Rochelle, I love game. Like I just love a great party. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and even like a spontaneous party. You just show up and Heather and Nate have this game. It's not even a game. You just like we did this a long time ago with our friends. Everybody wrote in like just things they love, like restaurants they love, things they like to do,
Yeah.
places they like to go. And so you have this like whole stack and everybody takes 5 and then you have these and then you like I would go. So if we were playing as a game, sorry, I don't know if we need to explain. If we're playing as a game, right? And it was my turn.
Yeah.
You guys would have 5 cards that just have random things that everybody wrote down, and you have to pick what my favorite would probably be.
I love this like apples to apples, but with your own
but
stuff.
it's your own version of it,
So
right?
good.
And so we did that a while. It's literally one of my favorite things, just to sit around.
Yeah.
It'll laugh. People will get angry at each other, and it sounds so dumb, but like that's how I love spending my time. And I think so often I wonder if like to Jesus juke everybody, like I wonder if that's like how Jesus and the disciples were. Like, yes, we have all these amazing like all these Jesus teachings, but there had to be time where they're at this wedding where he performs his first miracle, and he's just like, I just feel like that's what they were doing. They were just having this like
They're like,
amazing time.
Yeah.
And his mom's like, bro, we're running out.
Turn it up.
We're running out. Can we
Yeah.
get this turned up in here? And he's like, kadoosh. Let's roll. Like it is. I mean, I know that's extrovert for me. My wife, she likes that for an amount of time. Then she's like, okay, I'm done. I need to leave.
Yeah.
But I literally could do it all of the time. Like,
Yeah.
so that is, and of course the kids thing, like investing in the kids and spending time with them. It's even better now, now that they can like form their own thoughts and say dumb things and you can correct them, or they legit make you laugh. Like it's not like, Oh my gosh, that was so funny. Look at that cute little thing that she just did because she made a mistake or like said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Now like a 15-year-old literally makes me like cry laughing.
Oh, wow.
Like it's just those seasons, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I can't wait to
love
get to
that
the
stuff.
season. You always talk about all the movies you and Addie
Yeah,
watched
you
together
just
and
like
all
catch
that.
up on
Like, so
family,
good.
Yeah.
stuff that kind of shaped you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just that's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something that is really cool about the Cheeks family, Cheeks, both sides of my family, Baker, Cheeks.
both cheeks.
Both. Everything's fine. I have another story about that and my last name that I am not going to say on air.
Yeah, we'll take that off air.
I want to keep my job.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Jesus, help us. Okay. Just that. How do you follow it? Okay.
I don't know.
You're on stage. You can do it.
Okay.
You got
Okay.
this.
I feel like we have this cool dynamic where I think we embrace the funeral moments, right? The sorrowful moments of life so much that they become follow with me. They
with you.
become enjoyable.
Yeah.
So like there's like so much healing that happens like at a funeral in my family, or when we gather because someone's broken or hurt at the hospital, because we're like coming in and we're like, no, we got you, we're carrying each other, and there's like humor and lightness and the reminder that like Jesus has defeated the darkness and death. So like as we're hanging out in these moments, it's okay. And yeah, so we don't shy away from it. It's this cool balance where it's like I like have memories of laughing really hard at funerals
Yeah, for sure.
because I'm celebrating people,
Yes.
or like everyone was crying and my body went into like a reaction mode and I couldn't stop laughing, like
Right.
that sort of stuff. So I
Yeah.
think that's been an interesting
Yes.
way to have both.
No, it is very true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's a way that you've grown in investing your time?
You got stuff written
Do you
down?
guys know? I'll
I
go.
do have stuff right.
Yeah, I'll go first, then you can go. Because mine's pretty quick. I've had the opportunity. We've just our North Point partners in Irresistible Church. I just think of connecting with different people now and doing some like coaching that I would never
Yeah.
thought. I don't know. Like I always look at like I love what I do, but I never thought of like people might want to know like how we do that here.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
Believers has been such a big part of that, which is kind of scary about leaving. Is like I know that God has other plans, but like that's been like an awesome thing that right that you can share that with others. And I think
Yeah.
part of me, not to make this all about that, but like that is part of the excitement too, is man, I haven't learned everything I need to know, but I've learned so much here that I've even in my short time that I know that we're leaving, having conversations with people that we're going, like already sharing that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just so cool to reinvest
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And I would never want to just like keep that just to ourselves, right? And so I'm not
Yeah.
saying anybody else should leave, but like I just think if God's calling us to those things is like not just keeping it here.
Right.
We say that all the time. So
Yes.
that's I feel like a season of investing is really coming upon like the Hager family now, and I'm excited
love
about that.
that.
So
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get, like, full disclosure, working at a church, we get filled with these opportunities to invest time well. Super grateful for that. And but when I was thinking about this question, though, I will piggyback off of one of Jamie's examples yesterday, because I do think it's pretty cool, and I wanted the opportunity to tell the origin story of our friendship, Samuel. So
nice.
the physical investment that Jamie was talking about in your health and everything like that. The first time Sammy and I ever hung out, not only did we rip cabinets out of his kitchen for whatever reason, but we also
On a
had
whim.
yeah, we were playing a
Well,
game.
yeah.
I was like, Jamie's one of those cabinets out of here. We're
gone.
like, let's do
Consider
it.
done. But we also had a conversation that night that, like, man, we want to invest in our physical well-being and our health and get to the gym, but like we both kind of lacked accountability, and that was 7 years ago.
Yeah,
And
crazy.
we're not that consistent, but we're
You're not,
Yeah.
but some of us are.
7 years later, we're still there. So
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I consider that time invested.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's good.
Yeah. I think researching and like sort of like what you're talking about with ICM, where we've like been able to have that stuff poured into us, like being very intentional about, instead of beating myself up because of the way that the time I'm spending my time, saying, you know what, there is obviously some efficiency things that I don't have, like a really good scope on. So I'm going to go ahead and research it and figure it out and hang with the people who do know what they're doing. And I invest my time in that. So it's like a return, you know, a cycle.
Yeah. So they're
I'm
investing
like,
in you and you're
So then I can also then in turn invest in the people,
that's
the
great.
people around me. And some of that is sort of like what you were talking about. I'm really busy, but what can I bring people along in my life to pour into them? Whether that's, you know what? Yeah, I don't get to nap on Sundays because I have all the things to do, but maybe one of my friends who I haven't been able to connect with can come over because the boys are napping.
Yeah,
So come over, have lunch, do the thing, and just be a part of our lives, inviting people into our lives so that we can still invest. Because it can be really easy with my schedule to be like, I'm drained. I have nothing to give. But there are ways that I can be investing in other people.
As you get older, you're going to have to get those naps, though. It's just what happens.
Yeah,
so you got to figure it out.
Yeah, so
It'll
the
move
best
from
thing
time
is to go
wasted
to
from time
mom's.
invested.
Yeah, you got to go to
that
mom's.
Sleeps invested.
That like grandma nap.
Yeah.
Because then they're like, baby, she's like, just lay down.
Right.
I'm going to put this blanket on you. And the kids are good. And you're like, okay.
I love that. You know what's interesting? I think we've created such a culture of being invested in here.
Yeah.
This is kind of a negative, and don't feel bad about it. You got to keep doing it. But when you try to invest in someone that doesn't live in that culture, not everyone wants to be invested in.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's really difficult because you're like, I have so many great things to tell you. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, no thanks. Like we've experienced that even
Yes.
within ICN Network. Like you want to coach, but then you never show up to things. It's
Right.
like, why do you not want that? Like, why do you not want this? And so for me, I like take that as like, well, what am I blocking for people investing in me? Like, okay, what do I need to figure out? Because it's just not everybody has that. And so trying to work through that and not be bad. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to dust off my mat and I'm going to find the next person to try to invest in so that they can invest that back and forth. Yeah,
That's
tough.
so good. You've been preaching to me today, Pastor
I love
Sam.
that.
Because
It's
like,
Reverend.
yes, I'm sorry, Reverend, brother.
It's this seat.
Yes,
Once Jamie,
right.
I feel like I got to preach over
Yes.
here.
I like to say brother preacher.
Yeah.
That's what they call my dad. But yeah, just the end, like to be like slightly candid, but not all my juice out there. But like that's a big part of fostering. Like you
good.
want to invest. I'm not gonna cry on the pod. I don't think I ever have. But
Jeremy, zoom in. This is good. This is ratings.
like you want to invest, but like sometimes they just can't receive it. And,
Right.
and
They're just
sometimes
not in the
it's
season of it.
it's a season of like, I am here to plant some seeds. And I may not be the one that gets to water. I may not get to be the one that gets to see the blooms, but I will plant the seeds as best I can. As you're spending your time and hours and hours and hours
And
investing in kiddos.
so much easier to say that, right? Than actually do it.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been preaching from stage about faith and God's going to move and he's going to do these great things. But what people don't see is me sobbing to my wife and trying to get counsel from Heather about where is he? Why is he not showing up? I've done all the right things. I've made the faith and I've sung all the songs and I've said all the things. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Your brain and your heart.
Right.
Your
Maybe
heart,
he
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
You just gotta see it.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the longest
circle.
distance, right?
Love
That's what I
that.
say, longest
Yes.
distance from your brain
Yes.
to your heart.
So Jamie closed out the message kind of with this challenge to come up with like a family mission statement. And he didn't spend a lot of time in how to do that, just because I think that's such an individual family thing. Like, so to walk everyone through that is a little bit difficult, but he did give a resource to that, and that was included in the message notes and stuff. So if you have the app, the Believers app, you can go to that
It's
and
in the next
pull up
steps.
the next step notes, and you'll have access to that link.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if you guys have ever done that, like walk that out, or if you're talking about that or thinking about that. How do you determine some of like when you say yes to things and when you say no to things? Because that's really a big part of like
We already know Joey's.
Just say yes all the time. You don't have to worry about it.
this family mission statement thing is like the idea is if you have the mission statement, that kind of helps guide your yeses and your nos.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our conversation today, that's kind of the question I'd like to leave us with. How do you determine your yeses and nos for your family's schedules?
Yeah, so he challenged us to not make it just about us, but to ask all the family members. So from that, we got Nora said pizza, lion, roar. No, what's funny about that is I just, on the way home from drive, wrote out what I thought could be sort of a family mission. But that is a season that's like kind of right around the corner because you do want the kids involved and everything like that. And so it was challenging to hear that, and I think it's right here on our horizon for sure.
Nice. Yeah, we don't have one statement, but I love the challenge of doing that, just getting to that focus statement. I think it's so helpful to do that. I love ours around here, and it's helpful for me in work to bring everything back to that. But we have like a list of values that we agree upon in the home, which is actually something when I went through my certification process that they were like, you're going to need this because you have so many different lifestyles that are going to be coming in and out. You have to have like, this is what we will uphold to in this space. And so if things don't line up with that, and some of them are like choosing to be kind and respectful to each other, that sort of stuff. If this isn't kind to our schedule, like if I'm not going to sleep at all because I take on this project for, excuse me.
Whoa.
Joking.
Relax. Water.
I was really excited about this answer. But if I'm not going to sleep, that's not kind to me. That's not fair to the littles because I'm going to be super cranky, all that sort of stuff. So it does help us to line up like what we say yes and no to, and even just kind of vaguely looking at just, do we have enough hours in the day? Yeah. Are we going to have to totally rebudget because gas money, that's going to take so much to go there and there and there and everywhere. So it has helped us having those core values of our home to decide what's coming and what's going.
The kids will force the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
Right.
Yeah.
For us, just this season currently, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, Jamie preached, and one of the things, it was for the Made for This series, and he used the quote from the message that Martin Luther King gave to like a small school. It was like a really quick thing. He talked about like if you're going to be a street sweeper, like be the best street sweeper you can be.
Yeah.
Like finding that mission. And so like for us right now, yes, there's busyness and it's like crazy, but it's like whatever we are doing, and God is starting to align many of those things. And yes, Joey, he is showing up. Like we're seeing that, which is pretty amazing. But whatever we are doing, it's like, how can we be intentional to share Jesus, and just that whole thing, like how we've been invested on here, how do we push that to the next season of life, the next people that come into our lives, all those different things.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's like a great like standard mission statement, but like that is our mission right now when I think of what we're trying to do. And it doesn't matter necessarily what we're labeled as job stuff. It's like what we're doing with the people in our lives.
Do you think your mission constantly changes through season of life?
I think it definitely
can.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think it's good to revisit those things but that it's like it can go through different seasons, because I think like, and Jamie said that even when he was talking a little bit about that guilt stuff, like, and Sam mentioned it too, like there is just a season of life is kind of, it takes on busyness in different ways depending on the stage of life that you're in, right? So you do have to kind of redefine those things. Like for Nate and I at this point, like we're empty nesters. And so we can still be like as very busy if we choose to be. So we kind of have to, even at the marriage retreat that I've mentioned a couple of times that we went to just a couple months ago, they were challenging us to like come up with like a marriage mission statement. Like what do we want our marriage to be about? Like what is it for? Like how do we want our marriage to be defined, you know? And so that takes on a different look now that we're not about like raising children. Like that's a totally different season of marriage to be in. And so, but it's still like, as Christ followers, there's still like a core tenet to marriage,
foundation.
right?
Right, that was
like,
my thing. So like
that's the thing.
Yeah, my identity is in Christ, right? My identity is in Christ, but the mission of how you are sharing Christ changes throughout seasons, right? And who you come in contact with.
So I think like for us, like one of the things that has always been, since we kind of came out of that tumultuous time in our relationship and in our family. Like we have wanted our home and our resources, everything that we have, to be used for the Lord. Like I've been in a conversation with someone this week about like our house is like, we have always felt like it is not our home. So if that means that someone else is living with us for a season, or we're having groups in our home, or what, that is what our home is for. We believe that. So that's just
About to get some emails.
I mean, that's just something that we've always. So we've had people live with us for a couple of years at some points, like
you've
for
carried that out.
for months at some times. Like it's just something that we have felt that that's something that the Lord's put on our hearts. Yeah. And so that has been something that we've held very open-handedly. And that's not something that maybe everyone feels like about their spaces, but that is something that Nate and I have felt. And so, and maybe that's not something that we would feel down the road. I don't know, but it is something that we have felt for several years. Mm-hmm. And that's just one of the things that's coming to my mind right now for this conversation. But that's one of the things. That's something that we talked to our boys about when they were young. So they knew that growing up. And it's those kinds of values that I think is just the things that you can talk about and can be, I guess, a part of like a mission statement kind of thing. So when we were making decisions about like, oh, where would we live, or how would the space in our house, like that was a thing. Like we would need to have a room in our house that could be used for something like that. Yeah. And I know, like Rochelle, not to speak for you, but like even when she was buying her house, like the way that she was looking for a house and the space that it needed to have was the same thing. Like it had to be a certain type of house with a certain amount of rooms because of how she was feeling the Lord was leading her life. So that's just one of the
and that type
things.
of planning allows you to say yes more,
right,
without constraint.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. We're continuing this series this Sunday, and we do have a really exciting message coming up this Sunday. It's all about singleness. Woo-woo. And I just want to tell you, if you are not single, you do not want to miss this message either, because it is so good, and you are going to learn so many awesome things from it. So just please make plans to be here at 9 or 10:45 this coming Sunday, or you can always watch on our YouTube channel at 1. But before we go, I also want to make mention, we should have probably mentioned it yesterday on stage, and we just forgot about it, but on the 26th, we are having one service, and it's at 10:45.
No,
and then
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Yep. That's right, 10 a.m. One service, May 26th, 10 o'clock. And then we're going to have a really fun cookout after. Joe, do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
What are we
That
cooking
we're
out?
going to have a fun cookout afterwards.
Are we cooking them?
Yeah, we're back on the flat stove.
Ooh, I hope it's not 95 degrees again.
It was last time.
It was hot.
Yeah.
Sam
It'll
and I
be
be
good.
on hot
It's gonna be
dog
great.
duty.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day.
It is.
So just make plans to be here, invite some friends and family to join you. And until then, go and be loved. Thanks for being here, friends. We'll see you next time.